Hello everybody, welcome to Planet Sky FF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Suj.
My name is James.
And this week we have someone on the show who might actually have a chance of winning £50,000 because it's not you or me.
We're about to find out, I think.
Why don't you introduce our guest, James?
Some of you might remember from the 30 and 30 series that we did in June, which seemed a big deal at the time now, but it's just all the fucking time now. On one of our first podcasts, we welcomed Paul at Sky Player and FPL to discuss the differences between the Sky game and the FPL game. Lo and behold, a few months later, Paul is back on the podcast and Suj and I are playing Sky Fantasy Football.
Correct.
Paul, how are you, mate?
I'm good. How are you both?
Yeah, we're very good, mate. Right, let's get to it. What's your rank?
I'm about 6.5k.
Oh, I don't feel miles off, actually.
Okay, not bad at all. And how many transfers have you used so far, Paul?
A lot more than you guys have. I'm having a bit of a shocker.
Okay, I've only used 3, and I'll be honest with you, we spoke about it just briefly before we started. I didn't even log in this weekend. I forgot.
You're a disaster case, mate.
How does it tell me who my captain was?
Paul, were you up for recording every Wednesday, mate? I could do with a new partner for this show, mate.
I don't know whether I'm any good to any of you at the moment. So.
Okay, go on then. What's happening at the moment that you feel? I mean, because for a lot of the listeners, right, you sound disappointed with 6.5k. Like for a lot of the listeners, they might be thinking, "Oh, that sounds like a great rank." So why at the moment does that not feel the case for you?
It's the transfer side of things. I've used way too many, trying to correct too many mistakes. So I'm sort of waiting for the international break to start again.
So how many have you used?
13.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am really coming from you, know, Suj.
Paul, can I ask you a question about this game, which I'm just learning as we're going along? If you don't pick a captain for a game day, it doesn't default to just any old player.
No, not at all.
So if it makes you
just
feel
go
any
without.
better, I didn't have a captain on Sunday because I didn't pick one.
It doesn't give you any player at all, is that right?
No.
Oh, God. I'm literally finding this out right now. You're telling me
that I had no captain on Sunday out of De Bruyne, Sterling or Trent, who only got 2 points each anyway.
Wow.
But I could have picked someone else and I didn't.
But you got a captaincy for Vardy on Saturday.
I did.
So,
I must have set Vardy from the week before.
And you hadn't set for...
No, I hadn't set the Sunday. So wherever we are, I'm 44k now. Where are you, James?
As in rank?
Yeah.
I had a small rise this week. I'm up to 8,416.
Oh, decent. I need to start playing more seriously now.
Yeah, please, yeah, because listeners are just going to go away.
Yeah, true. Do you know the funny thing is, Paul? I've made a really nice spreadsheet that shows me all the gaps and when I've got potential 2-for-1s, 3-for-1s, etc. All set and ready to go. I just haven't actually used the bloody thing yet, which is an absolute waste of time. But I am interested in the game. I just time has beaten me a couple of weeks in a row now.
Well, I think James is only 11 points behind me at the moment.
Oh, wow.
Is that right? So are you saying that's all the differences between 8 and 6k at the moment, basically?
Yeah, it looks that way.
I'm on... Oh, crap. I'm on...
905, I think you're on.
That's right, yeah.
I'm on 8.
All right, for some, and he knows. I'm on 905. And what are you on?
916.
Okay, so 101 points, 199 points between us, Paul. And if you think you've used 13 transfers, I've used 3. So 10 points per transfer. It's all to play for.
I have used 5. It's interesting, Paul, because I'd said to you, you was messaging obviously the last week or so, and you said, what should we talk about? And one of the things I'd said to you is, can you try and find out obvious glaring errors that me and Suj have been making? I mean, not logging in and giving yourself a fucking captain would be a fairly obvious problem. But we wasn't prepared for that one. So is there anything, Paul, you've noticed from our moves or lack of moves that we're doing really badly? You might just want to aim this more at me.
No, I'm interested.
I gotta be honest, you've probably made less mistakes than I have this season.
All right, let's turn it a different way then. So you feel like you're making or have made mistakes. What are they? Yeah. Is that in selection or too many transfers?
For me, it all kind of went wrong overhaul.
Okay.
I pinpointed. I sort of been doing like you've been doing with the blocks of fixtures. So it was up to overhaul and then overhaul to this international break. And for that block of 8, I'd sort of put all my hopes in City, and it's not gone well.
Okay.
I think I had 5 City players coming out of the overhaul, and then they went and lost to Norwich. Sterling didn't play against Watford.
Then Wolves.
Otamendi lost his place. Zinchenko's got injured. I think the only one that's played regularly for me is Kevin De Bruyne.
Even he missed a couple with injury as well.
Yeah, so I've been sort of chasing my tail a bit with that.
But obviously, when you made that decision, Paul, obviously they still had an amazing run of fixtures. Liverpool's fixtures, on the contrary, still looked quite difficult. I mean, in retrospect, you can say with the two of them, a lot of the time, don't even look at the fixtures. I mean, especially with Liverpool, obviously, at the moment, whereas we can all highlight there's a major problem with City defensively. But obviously, all right, you've named players there like Zinchenko, Otamendi, etc. You can't stay on them, mate. You've got to make the transfer and get rid in those cases.
Oh, yeah, I've moved off, but I had other issues coming out of there as well. Like I picked up Pepe in the overhaul. I went with Fraser for my Bournemouth cover. He didn't play for the first 3 fixtures after overhaul. So I've just been putting out fires, essentially.
You're still beating me, mate.
Just.
What did you think of... I'm really keen to know this. I've made 4 transfers kind of over this period that's gone, which culminated with a move from Pukki to Mane on Sunday morning. What did you think of the fact that I was moving players between positions, for example? So I ended up selling Vardy to De Bruyne and then going Dean to Pukki and moving. Is that a sensible manoeuvre in certain circumstances to be manoeuvring a formation as well as players?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I messaged you just after that pod went out when you first described that move, and it was basically that is what I was expecting from you from day one.
I love him,
and it really was. And when you sort of described that through, it was like it makes perfect sense. There's nothing to there's no errors in it. It's just sensible.
Well, I feel like
Pukki.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, it was waste, wasn't it?
Planning
but I did have
really
shot bonus off the fucker Friday night actually,
okay,
so I did
play.
get 8 points off it.
To be fair, all it would have taken is one return on that Friday,
and it was worth it
because I skipped that game altogether. Yeah. I know a lot of the top players skipped that altogether, so James might have been one of the few actually had a captaincy that night. If he had got a score, he would have flown.
Yeah, it feels like from the Friday night game, the only success stories was anybody that had gambled on Delafeu. It seemed like the only success stories. I mean, we'd highlighted a couple of weeks ago that actually if you were probably going to go in for a lot of people who were trying to move budget, actually look at Watford defensively.
Yeah.
We looked at maybe Craig Dawson at 6.1 might get the odd clean sheets, but I think the majority of people who just left it did the right thing.
I think Foster might become an interesting option for me now that Edison's injured. Obviously, need to find a replacement for him. And with their clean sheets that they've had in the last 5, he may be a consideration, but I think we'll have to see what it comes down to in terms of price.
It's do you feel, Paul, like Delafeu at 8.2 is an option now?
He was somebody I looked at, but with the number of transfers I'd already used, it was basically, nah, I'll just skip out on him altogether.
I just feel like, because there's so many, it feels like it's really difficult to find players who are of good value in that midfield area. It feels like so many of us, even the experienced players I'm talking to, it feels like they're missing out on those points in the midfielders so much at the moment. Trivia question for you, Suj. Do you know who the top scoring midfielder is at the moment?
Oh.
And it's not Kevin De Bruyne, spoiler.
Give me a club.
Well, there's 2 of them are joint.
Is it Leicester?
Nope.
Midfielders. John McGinn.
It is. John McGinn is one of them, yeah.
Are they both from the same club?
No.
John McGinn and
Beast in this game.
Mason Mount?
Nah, beast in this game. Okay, this is a podcast.
don't
We don't
know,
want
mate.
silence.
I don't know.
Do you know, Paul?
I knew McGinn. I didn't know the second one.
It's Richarlison.
Okay, yeah. And
Snuck in there.
All tackles.
Yeah, I mean, we highlighted him a few weeks ago, and obviously, the thing is, like, I heard that the man of the match he got awarded at Southampton at the weekend was a little bit dodge, but he's hit shots here, he's hit goals, and even you look at all the kind of periods where he's had blanks. He had an assist against West Ham, I believe, and an assist against Brighton. But even in the blanks, shot tier 1 against Spurs, tackles tier 1 against Burnley, tackles tier 2 against Man City. So he's kind of just streaming in. He's only really, what's he got? Two goals scored, I think?
Yeah.
Oh, he's scored 2 in the game against Wolves. He's only scored 3 goals so far this season. He's top scoring midfield player.
Not bad. Interesting. He might be the right replacement for Pepe. It's only 0.4.
Is that too
between them.
expensive, 10.2, Paul? I feel like as an unexperienced... Go on, sorry.
I wouldn't have gone to him for 10.2, but you can't disagree with the fact he's top scoring midfielder. Considering there's not many of them
firing,
not many of them to go off.
It feels like, though, I mean, because you've got Richarlison at 10.2, De Bruyne 2 points less, 71 points, 11.2. Christian Pulisic the same, 10.1. And obviously, Pulisic is from far fewer games.
Yeah.
So he's the form horse, if you will. But it feels like there are so many better value players at under, like McGinn, Mount. Maddison is 8.3. Tielemans is 8. So are we better off being away from De Bruyne's value, do you think?
There's certainly an argument for it. Whether you want to sort of go that way and potentially not have any City at all, depending on where you've gone with the forward line, that's the big question, I think.
Yeah, I think there's obviously frustrations with Aguero's selection, and Sterling's not really been hitting it since August, if we're honest, for this game. It feels like completely going without City, and you can't look at them defensively at the moment, I don't think, unless you've got the goalkeeper, who I understand probably will be back after the break.
Is that what the latest news is?
Seems to be the thinking. So, I mean, I've held, Suj obviously held because he didn't log in this week.
Yeah.
I feel like because of that, I want to keep De Bruyne in there. I don't know if that's the right move or not, though. I just feel like going completely without him seems ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I'm of the same thinking. I've got him and I've still got Sterling. I didn't change him for the weekend. But if I want to go to a Mane, or I haven't even got Vardy at the moment, which seems ridiculous at this point, I've got to keep him in.
Are you in a situation, Paul, because you feel like you've made more transfers than you'd intended, that you're avoiding that, for example, now say with Vardy?
No, I made a decision a couple of weeks back and went with Tammy Abraham instead. And the problem now is I haven't gone off.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't have the money, I'm assuming, then to get.
But Abraham's cheap, isn't he?
He is cheap in this.
So he's not a bad player to have, but then to move from him to someone else, that's why those movements I made to get Pookie and the amount of money I had to leave aside to then move it back to Mane. You know, I started this week with like 4 million in the bank, so I could make that move on Sunday. It is a big problem if Abraham was to get injured, for example. You almost need to shove the funds defensively, almost, I would say, and then rework it.
Or midfield?
Because you can't just get straight up. Because all the powerhouses are like at least 2 million more. What's the difference? What's the price is Abraham, Paul?
He is 8 point something.
Yeah, and you're looking at Vardy is one of the cheapest ones of the big hitting forwards at 10.7. It's 2.5 million difference.
Abraham is 8.3. So it's not even 2, it's 2.4 million, which is a massive difference.
Well, I've got 3.6 in the bank. And ideally, ideally,
what's he waiting for then?
Yeah, I should have done the Mane move yesterday. but because of the number of transfers I'd already used, I was sort of thinking, well, City, Liverpool might be a bit cagey, just as much chance of scoring. Sterling had just as much chance of scoring as Mane. So maybe I'll just hold off on using the transfer. But now that I've looked a bit further forward, City, Chelsea and Liverpool are more or less playing every Saturday. So there's no easy off now.
Are there any... Because we get a lot of... The one question we seem to get almost weekly on this, Paul, is like, are there any good 2-for-1s coming up? Or like, do you see anything obvious in the next few game weeks or so? Because I don't, to be honest.
No, and to be honest, I haven't really looked too deep into it. Like, I'd sort of planned up to this international break to use this time now to move on to sort of the next overhaul.
Up until end of December.
No, there's no sort of... No standouts.
I suppose the one that is a must really for everybody, and we spoke about it last week, is Liverpool with their blank in, I know it's FPL 18, I don't know what it is in Sky, 20, 21. How many Liverpool players are you on, Paul? And are you planning on, like James and I, binning all of them?
I've just got the one at the moment in Trent.
And your plan over that would be just to get rid of him and bring him back? Because there you've got some potential 3-for-1s.
Yeah, well, if it turns out that is the case, then yeah, I can see me moving off and then just bringing back as and when. At the moment, he's relying on assists, strangely enough. I saw Dan put out an article on the Hub, I think it was towards the end of last week, going through all the bonuses and everything, and the Liverpool defenders not really getting many.
No.
Yeah, but them two, Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, like having fucking midfielders in your team, innit? Start looking at the clean sheets as bonuses almost. Interesting stat to throw out for you. Liverpool only one of 3 teams that haven't kept a home clean sheet yet this season.
Yeah, mad.
It's incredible. And it will turn. It has to turn.
We keep saying that, but we kept saying the same thing about Leicester City can't win the league, and they kept going and kept going. It wouldn't surprise me if Liverpool keep conceding and leaking one goal here and there. Whilst they're still winning games, I don't think it's getting the attention that maybe it might have had they lost or drawn a couple of games. And they've only drawn the one.
It doesn't matter about the front three are too
good.
And the fullbacks you can add into that conversation. It's too much firepower.
The front 11 are all too good.
Well, yeah. I mean,
anybody on the pitch is too good at the moment with Liverpool.
Is that obvious then, Paul, that like ahead of that blank that you kind of captain and own whatever you have when they play? I think, is it Watford before the blank?
Yeah.
You play them then and you sell them straight away on the Sunday or the Monday?
Yeah, I think so. If it's going to be potential 3-for-1s, and I think there may even be a 4 in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think you said Everton maybe, didn't you? But and the tough fixtures, Everton.
The one for Liverpool is Leicester as well, so it's not even they've got
it's not even worth worrying about.
Yeah,
it's not even worth worrying about.
I think you can even go further. Like I said, there's quite a few 5-for-2s with I think Spurs, United, Arsenal, Chelsea. I think all of them. I think. And the second game you'd miss is Wolves at home, which is the way they counter is one of the more difficult games. And then you could go back onto them because they played Sheffield United on the 2nd of January, and you'll know the Liverpool team as well.
Yeah.
So it could be that a lot of us from mid-December to very early January are going to be without Liverpool, I think. I think definitely...
Which seems ridiculous considering they're top of the league.
But I feel like you've got to... I can foresee... I think it's the week before Liverpool have the blank, like Arsenal play City. And I think Leicester play City one week as well. Like I can see me until City have those 2 fixtures, I can see me potentially not making any transfers in the next 3 weeks or so. And then, I mean, I've only got TAA and Mane from Liverpool at the moment. I think I would leave it at that. And then I'm selling both. And I'll go back to them, no doubt about it. I can't foresee where holding through that period when the amount of... This is exactly what it's about, isn't it? Manoeuvring your premium players to players who've got more and better fixtures at certain periods.
Yeah.
So
to give you the captaincy coverage as well.
I feel that's a certain... Are you put off then, Paul, because you've only got... You say Alexander-Arnold, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you put off then because of that upcoming blank to go on to them, or do you feel like the fixtures are too good in the next few weeks, I have to get either like a Mane or Salah in then.
Yeah, that's the issue I've got at the moment. I'm trying to find some way of getting Mane in, but given the forwards I've got, I'd prefer to lose Aubameyang. But because of the captaincy fixtures he's got, I just can't lose him.
Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? I'm in a similar boat with you on Aubameyang, but I need him for at least 3 captaincies between now and mid-December.
Well, there's 4. If you look at Aubameyang coming up now, I think this is why I held through the Wolves and Leicester fixtures. Southampton at home this weekend looks the best choice to me. Then they play Norwich away on the Sunday. It's going to be hard to ignore. Then they play Brighton at home on the Thursday night. I think Sheffield United Newcastle's the only other game. You'd captain him again. Yeah. And then the Monday night fixture at your place.
Game, right? You sure you wouldn't rather have Aller?
Yeah, sure, Suj. Yeah, and then they play Man City afterwards. December looks a difficult period for Arsenal, starting with, to be honest, that West Ham fixture because it is a London derby. Yeah. Then City, Everton, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Man United, Palace. Then actually play Chelsea again in January,
just before the City game, isn't it?
Yeah, that seems like the plan. Hold through to the Monday night football. Is that one there where they're playing the Monday night game, Paul, where he's the obvious captaincy choice? Holding him through to that game, you're not going to get any extra out of the fixtures. Is that something you try and avoid, or because I feel like I'd have to hold him for that Monday night? Yeah,
you've got to keep him for the Monday. I don't see anybody getting any West Ham players in for that.
No chance. But, and if they do, they need their head checking if they do.
It does restrict you then. It's a case of coming off straight away then. Straight away afterwards.
It'd be interesting though, because if you do come off at Aubameyang at that time, the obvious fixture on the Saturday, but it's 2 very obvious fixtures that come in Saturday before Arsenal plays City on the Sunday. Liverpool at home to Watford and Leicester at home to Norwich. And a lot of people already possibly have their captaincy coverage there, so you could even make a case for the Sunday games: United, Everton, Wolves, Spurs, Arsenal, City. I mean, you could even make a case to even hold through the City game. Maybe we'll know when we get there, I think.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's one of those. I'm not going to plan anything in just yet for that. I've got him, so I'm just going to leave him in there and then assess once that comes around, I think.
What do you think, Paul? I know you said you feel like we're kind of doing all right in terms of the transfers and that. Are there any things you see other players do and you think, oh my God, what are you doing? Or are there any obvious mistakes that you see players making?
The main ones for generally people who come over from FPL is forgetting to set captains. I know that this sounds really obvious, but people are just not used to doing it. They used to just set it up on a Friday or a Saturday and leave it carry on.
Yeah.
But it's surprising how many people actually forget.
I have to confess, it's a small confession. I try and leave the transfers as late as possible, just in case there is any rumoured news of an injury or something like that. And it was about 1 o'clock on Sunday, and I thought, oh, fucking hell, shit, I need to get Mane in my team here.
Yeah.
So I did nearly forget myself. I blame that on my son's birthday, to be honest. I don't know what your excuse was.
I don't have a good one. Paul, I've got a question. Dan, who regularly listens to our show, sent in a question that he wanted your opinion on. We've spoken a little bit about the fact that you've used 13 transfers, you said, right? Or 15?
Yeah.
13. Yeah. He has 29 left and is aiming for 16 at Overhaul 2. Does that sound within the realms of where you are at and what you think you'll be at?
At the moment, I think I'm in a state of just trying to hold on because I'm hoping to have around about 18 left come second overhaul.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is part of the reason I didn't go for Mane yesterday, which in retrospect was a mistake. But yeah, I think about 18 to 20 maybe would be the ideal come second overhaul.
If I was aiming for 18 at the second overhaul, I'd have to make 19 transfers in the next sort of 8 to 10 game weeks. That's 2 per week.
You can't predict things like injuries.
No, of course.
Suspension, it might be something you want to take. I mean, I took Edison on the chin this weekend. I really didn't feel like it was moving out without the full knowledge of what I was going to do. So I've held on there. Go on. I've completely lost my train of thought.
I was going to change completely the topic of conversation, Paul. One of the things that fascinated me in our first conversation was how you're using your Sky skills in regular FPL, and what you did last year in terms of ignoring price rises and fixing when you're going to use your wild cards and stuff. Are you doing the same again this year?
Yeah, I've done exactly the same again this year. And FPL isn't going too well either.
Okay. What would you put that down to? Just the craziness and the results we've had?
I think a lot of my problem was I put a lot of stock in Liverpool defence, and it's because of the way I'm trying to do it with this sort of self-imposed transfer limits and that sort of thing. It's quite difficult to move the team around with those two Liverpool defenders stuck in there, and one of them is Van Dijk, so it's not even the ideal
Trent
two.
And Robbo, no.
Yeah.
Van Dijk's FPL ownership is still crazy.
Yeah, it really is.
Huge. It's still about 45%.
Yeah, it's mad how high it is.
Sitting in a lot of dead teams. Yeah,
a lot of dead teams with Virgil van Dijk.
What's your FPL rank, Paul?
It's a lot better than it was 2 weeks ago. I've managed to get up from about 2.2 mil to 880k in 2 weeks.
Nice.
I did see your tweet where you'd done it in 2 weeks. I went from 1.9 to 1.4. I had 2 green arrows in a row as well. Similar, but not quite as big as yours. But you're inside the top million now, so that's a good foundation to build on.
Where did you finish last year, Paul? Was it 49th, was it?
48th, yeah.
48th in the world, and number 1 in Wales, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What would be a good FPL rank for you now?
Ooh. I'm still hoping I can get down to 10k.
Yeah, I know you can.
A long shot.
All right.
It's a long shot.
I don't think it's unrealistic at all.
No. It's so long to go.
The gap, like you talked about, like there's what 11 points between you and Sky, and that's 2,000 spots. It's very similar in FPL, like 50 points, and you're up into the top 100k straight away.
Different question then, Paul.
I think the rankings are very close in FPL this year.
They really are.
It doesn't take a lot to move.
Well, it sounds like they are in Sky as well. So going back to Sky, can you still win it this year?
Oh, no, not a chance.
Okay.
Not a chance.
Just seriously, why?
Yeah, because I think I can still win it. You've broken my dreams.
Yeah, looking at my rank and looking at some of the names in and around, it doesn't look too bad because I know one of Dan Cox's teams is there or thereabouts, Mark Edworthy at Sky Podcast, and a lot of the regular players are sort of in and around me. But I noticed this morning Dan's second team has cracked 1,000 points.
Okay.
And there's no way I'm catching that up.
Why do you say that?
Mainly because I think he's roughly on about the same number of transfers as I am. To make up that amount of points might be a bit difficult from here on in.
That's really interesting that we've got Dan on next week, so I'm going to put this to him. But it's really interesting that it feels like in the Sky game, and obviously it's a smaller community, etc., that you are seeing familiar faces near the top. Is it kind of a little bit like in elite individual sport? I don't know, like say a tennis, for example, or something, or a snooker, where like generally are there players that you fear?
Well, there's players you look out for every season. Like so, Dan's won it. You've got to look out for where his teams are. Mark, he finished 4th one year, I think. And there's other players like Rob Watson-Lang. He's another one I always look out for. They're always there or thereabouts. So if you can sort of track their progress along with your own, you can generally work out where you'll finish.
All right, different question. Can I win Sky this year?
Play
nice. Play nice. Play nice.
Ooh, no, given the
he's
number
got
of
8 extra transfers compared to you. Is it roughly, give or take?
yeah,
I've
and
used
generally
5.
I try to attach about 10 points to each transfer, 10-point gain to each transfer. So strictly speaking, that would put you about 60 points ahead of me.
It's not
with
enough, is
the
it?
transfers you got left.
That
not-
means
it's
that
not
you
enough.
and me are in the same boat, Paul, because I'm 99 points behind you, but I've got 10 extra transfers. So
Yeah.
I'm doing as well as Paul at Sky Player and FPL. My life is done now. I'm quitting Sky. I'm roughly the same if you use Paul's own
I've
algorithm.
realised what my train of thought was going to be, which I lost my thread earlier,
Fair play.
was the winter break.
Yeah.
I think it's
Well,
really,
the 8th and 15th of
which is really,
February.
it comes not far after the second overhaul, right? I think
In Sky, it's
there'll-
1 week though, right?
There'll
One game
be
week.
no game week runs Friday to Thursday, doesn't it?
Okay, so they're not longing it out
There,
over 2 weeks.
there will potentially, once we know the February TV fixtures, which we're not going to know for a little while yet, I think there's some power there to come out the overhaul from a transfer perspective. So I don't know best, but my feeling would be that this year, while we adjust to that, and obviously for us it's just new, that you'd probably want more transfers than normal because of that period.
Yep.
Plus, we think the Liverpool midweek fixture is probably going to be maybe late Feb, the rearranged game with West Ham as well.
Yep.
So I think there's probably a case for holding on to more transfers than people would normally do into the second
Yeah,
half.
quite. Did we get double game weeks
Yeah,
in Sky?
absolutely.
No, it's just a week.
No, sure, but if it's a Friday to a Thursday, or,
Yeah.
so if we were playing Liverpool on a Wednesday and a Saturday,
Yeah.
that would be a double game week,
So in December, the first midweek of December is a full midweek fixtures.
right?
Technically, everybody has a double game
Double
week.
game week. So double game weeks do exist.
Makes
they don't,
sense.
They don't split the
Yeah.
fixtures out. 'cause
No.
the way they
Game
do
weeks Friday to Thursday.
it. Simple as that. So there will be quite a few double game weeks then.
So that week you want to score about 200.
Ooh,
Well, no, in seriously, because you should have at least 5 captains.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You should really have 5 captains that week. So you'll want about 200. That'll be a big week.
nice.
Yeah, it'll be about using your transfers wisely around there, because I think you only get a maximum of 5 for the week anyway, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. You can't use more than 5 in
So
one week.
if you wanted to hop on, hop off, hop on, that's 2 right there, just for one change.
Would you be liable, Paul, over the Christmas period, ignoring the winter break and that for the moment, but if you're making transfers around that period, would you be more liable to look at someone like Kane, who you would have more trust in playing all the games back to back, for example? Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to, well, with no bench, you've got to have people who are going to play. It's just simple as that. And the likes of City, who might rotate heavily, Liverpool might rotate heavily because of the sheer amount of fixtures they've got with all the other cups they're in. So yeah, you're looking at teams who got guaranteed starters.
Liverpool would have won the league by then.
I can't see Liverpool, changing too much at the moment. Like, the league's got to stay the priority. Has to.
Yeah, it's been too long.
I think even over that December period, yeah, I think particularly more Salah rather than Mane, just because it feels like there's ongoing issues. He was limping for a little bit on Sunday as well. Have you got any preference there, by the way, Paul? Salah, Mane? You kind of mentioned Mane.
Mane, absolutely Mane.
Why is that obvious this year? Because my preconception on this before playing the game was obviously because the amount of shots Salah gets away, that would be the supreme choice. And also there's not too much between them in value. Why do you think that swung so much?
I'm not sure. I'd assumed the same as you, that the sheer number of shots Salah gets away, he would have been ideal for the Sky game this year, with them reducing the bonus tier down to 2. But no, Mane just seems to be the one that's getting in the positions, and he's getting his head on every cross, whereas that's not Salah's game. He's more get the ball in his feet, take the shots, whereas Mane will attack every ball that comes in from Trent.
I really feel it's the dimension of both of the fullbacks together that are having such an impact on this.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it was Jordan Henderson's cross on Sunday, but Salah doesn't score that goal, mate, in my opinion.
No.
Admittedly, he scored a header from the Robertson cross,
Yeah,
but
he did.
it
was different though.
yeah,
It was different.
you know what I mean? He's still
Of
running
course.
onto it, isn't he?
Yeah.
Whereas those two are delivering deeper crosses, particularly Trent. and his delivery is incredible, particularly. And I just feel like Mane will be on so many more at the end of them. It's interesting.
I think Henderson said after the game after the game yesterday that he knew Mane would be coming in if he put the ball across.
Put it down. Yeah, interesting.
I feel like that's something that players will say about their teammates without maybe meaning it. But even Robertson, when he put his cross in for Salah's goal, he said I saw Firmino and Salah. I knew one of them would get on the end of it, just whacked it in there.
One question before we kind of let you go, Paul. It's kind of on the same two players. Salah's ownership in the top 1,000 is 12%. Sadio Mane's 72%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. So do you, when you're in a position like, say me and you are, where we feel like we're chasing, does that make you feel like, I know you've kind of said you'll probably go to Mane, but should that therefore mean that we should consider that the other way, or is it just blindingly obvious on Mane at the moment?
To me, it seems obvious, but there is that argument that if you want to move up the ranks, and if you need to catch up, feel like you need to catch up, then Salah's a pick. I don't think I've ever seen his ownership that low.
No, it's incredible. It's not like, I mean, it is particularly as well. Obviously, we had the overhaul, but he had a decent start as well, didn't he? I think at the point of the overhaul, I think people were probably still favouring Salah a little bit more than Mane after the couple of goals against Arsenal in the third game week. Really, really interesting. It's just an interesting... I mean, I'm on Mane and I'm happy to go with that because my point on it would always be I'll go with a guy to get me the most points and I'll start worrying about that a little later. I don't know if that's wrong tactically for me being behind the top players not to consider Salah in that case. I don't know.
A few of the websites do have this, like which player out of the top 10,000 can hurt you the most, or who can damage your rank that you don't own. I've never really paid much attention to it, not this early in the season anyway. Yeah.
No, I think it's a little bit too early to be worrying about that. And given the number of transfers you've got left, especially Mane is the one to be on.
Let's end the podcast on a real positive vibe, Paul. What's your views on VAR? Oh dear, sorry, no, we're not having that conversation at all. That was me messing around.
Cut.
Yeah, we've spoken enough about that today. And we'll not utter those three words ever.
Yeah, this is the bit where we have to remind listeners again that this podcast is pre-recorded on Monday.
Yes.
Just in case as well. We should say that anyway, just in case Sadio Mane does his cruciate ligaments in between. That would be a bit weird now, wouldn't it?
Yeah, true.
Heaven forbid that would happen to any player.
Touch wood, it doesn't. Paul, thank you for joining us again. And we're going to have you again on before the end of the season. Once I overtake you guys and you ask me for my advice, which will be around about never.
You know, we got a 50 quid bet on FPL.
Yes, we do.
Should we double or quits at this? Or is it that?
It's double or quits.
It
so
basically means give me £100.
If you beat me in both.
Yeah.
And if I beat you in this one, then we both get down to net zero.
To be honest, if you beat me in this one, I'll give you 200 quid anyway.
200 quid. I feel bad.
Just anyway.
Taking your
you
money.
pay my fucking wages anyway.
Yeah, that's true. We'll see. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it on the next episode of Sky FF. Watch.
Question for you guys on.
Let's do it.
Question for you guys on Sky.
Yes.
How are you getting on compared to FPL? How would you sort of rate the game?
Well, he remembers his password for FPL.
Yeah.
I just use my thumbprint to log in. FPL is the priority, Paul. So I don't give Sky as much of my headspace as I do FPL, like you've seen in the last couple of weeks. It was 2 weeks ago that I built out the spreadsheet to help me see the fixtures clearly because I couldn't picture it in my mind.
And you haven't used it.
I feel like if FPL didn't exist, I could be really into Sky, but FPL takes so much headspace that I'm not giving Sky the attention that it deserves. But as the season's gone on, I actually like the rules and restrictions within Sky quite a bit more than FPL.
I think what I've done to manage it a little better is I am very FPL headspace, 80% of our content is FPL, etc. So if not even for my own teams and what I'm doing, if for the content of the podcast, my headspace is FPL a lot more. But I do most of the time know quite early what I'm doing with FPL. And then once I've made that decision, I will once the FPL deadline's gone, I can still be thinking about Sky. And I think where I'm finding this a strength is I'm quite single-minded in terms of I know what I'm doing. I am like that for both the games. So things don't phase me like rumours of injuries and stuff on a Friday. If I've got a plan, I kind of generally I know what I'm doing. I know if player X suddenly is out for a month, I've got ideas of moves I want to make.
I think that's one of the things that stood out for me for the way you've played, taken to Sky so far. I was a little bit worried pre-overhaul because you caught, I think is it the Aubameyang 3-for-1? You called that very early on game week 2, but you never went through with it. And I was I was a little bit worried that you might be too tentative with the game.
I think I'm tentative with the game.
Certainly, I think I had a pre and listening to kind of Mark and Dan on the Sky podcast when they've recorded, and they were recording around about the first overall, and it was like, okay, we've used 4 or 5, and I had an idea in my head, I think preconceived that I was going to get to that first overhaul and not make a transfer. And then on night 1, Alisson pulled his calf after 15 minutes, and I was like, oh, fucking hell, I'm making a transfer already. Well, what's that? This isn't what I'd planned for. And I did get to the first overhaul without making any more moves, but I'd left some shit in there, man. Like Kurt Zuma's a decent pick now. He weren't before that first fucking overhaul, for example. It was like 1 point off him from 4 games or something. I think I would learn from next year. I tried to take some chances early on, and I wouldn't do that next year, I don't think.
There are a number of features.
I think I've done the opposite this year, where I took a chance on the overhaul, where I should have sort of spread it out a bit more, and thinking like you did with the bonus earners, you picked out McGinn early, those types of players. That was the right way to do it.
I do like the tier point system, I have to say, Paul. Compared to FPL, I just haven't invested the time to try and figure out who are the likely candidates to pick up these tier points. But I do like the way that
James does it for you.
Yeah, exactly. You're working off the assumption that I listen to what he's saying, which I don't.
You're getting moved over, mate.
Yeah. And also the captains, daily captains. There's a lot to like actually in Sky. It's just time is issue. Like playing both games is time consuming, but I like the fact that by not making too many transfers, I still got the transfers up my sleeve. So if I made an interesting double dip in, dip out of a certain player and captained him and managed to get a 25, 30 point haul, that could potentially shoot me right back up the ranks. Whereas FPL, you don't always get that ability to really shoot up and rise up. So I as much as I say, okay, I haven't played, I'm not disheartened by where I am or the fact that I've dropped in the last couple of weeks, because I've still got the transfers up my sleeve. So I feel like, okay, I can just make it up by making a couple of interesting moves in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, now do it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
There we go.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us again, and also all the interaction on Twitter and what have you, as always. Really do appreciate it.
Paul's kind of the unofficial Sky
make
Planet FPL correspondent.
I don't know, what do you send our correspondents? T-shirts, goodie bags?
They don't get fuck all.
Nothing.
FPL Pringle got a T-shirt last year. He's top of that correspondent league again at the moment.
Yeah, I know.
And talking of which, he's on tomorrow's Clash of the Correspondents with Rotation FPL. We'll be talking Man City and Chelsea.
Followed by...
I think is going to be really interesting for the Sky listeners as well, actually.
For sure. The Chelsea players are priced really well. And what do we have on Friday, James? Just for all
Friday, Planet FPL special, Racism in Football.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Thanks for tuning in to Planet Sky FF. We'll be back next week with another episode during this international break. Is it? Do we know what we're doing? Are we letting it out of the bag? Is it spoiler alert? Sky FF next week.
Oh no, we've got Dan Cox on next week at Dan Cox 82, 2017 champion, I believe. I'll listen back to this and I'll try and ask Dan the things we haven't asked Paul, I think.
For
so
sure.
give us feedback, always welcome. Do give Paul a follow at Sky Player and FPL, top lad.
Thank you very much, Paul. Other than that, James,
That's
ciao
it
for now.
Cue music, man, ciao. Thank you, Paul.